Alright, so this is an exciting video. I'm going to be unboxing the 118 scale FW-190 A5, and this is the major Graf version. This one's super rare. It took me several months to find, and as soon as I found it, I snatched it up. I did do a review of the 21st Century Toys FW-190, but their version was the D version, which is the long nose. So I'm pretty excited to compare these two. So if you stay tuned to the whole video, make sure you watch because I'm going to be comparing the 190D and then this one together side by side to see the differences. So, all right, let's get to the unboxing. Okay, so this one doesn't look like it has any tape. It just has these tabs here that open up. I love this paint job. So we have the fuselage there, and then it looks like we just have an accessories pack, which is also the clouds. All right, so this is all that came with it. So there's nothing underneath, but just some wire ties. So let me get those off and I'll get the fuselage out. All right, so we're gonna start off with the fuselage, and probably my favorite thing about this plane is the paint job. I mean, Merit nailed it. They did such a good job with the paint. You can see the weathering, the decals. I mean, everything was just done really, really well. Probably the most professional paint job I've seen them do, besides the Dauntless. And I have reviewed the Dauntless as well, so check that out on my channel if you haven't seen that. It was also 118 scale. All right, cool. Well, I'm already excited, so let's get to the rest of the unboxing. All right, so let's open up the accessories box. So it looks like we have the wings, the propellers, the drop tank, and then in here, it looks like probably the stabilizers. Yep, the horizontal stabilizers, and then some screws in the instructions. All right, so this is everything that came in the box. So it did come with a set of instructions. It's literally just one little page here showing you where the screws go to assemble the wings to the fuselage, and then also the drop tank and the rear stabilizers and the propeller. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna assemble is the wings. What you wanna do is take the fuselage over like this, and then you're gonna take the wings, and this little tab here slides underneath there. And there you go, it'll snap into place once you get it in. Now you do have to be careful because this is thin plastic here. So now once you have that in place, you're just gonna take these screws and screw them in. Okay, so once you have the wings screwed on, you also have these little cover plates here, and you can actually pop them in. It has a little tab there that goes into that hole to cover up the screws, which it actually fits perfectly, as you can see there with the rivets. Really impressed by that. Merit did really good with their details. All right, so there's really not much to this plane. Next thing we're gonna do is the horizontal stabilizers. And we're gonna just push them in like this. They have a little tab and then a little post. That just goes in like that. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna install is a propeller. And you can see in the middle, that's usually where a cannon would go. Okay, so you just take the hole and line it up with a post, and you just push it on like that. All right, now we're gonna assemble the drop tank. The drop tank actually covers up the remaining two screws that are visible anyway, so again, really good job. They have these two little posts right here that line up with those holes, and then one in the back as well. So you just pop them on like that. And there we go. That was it. I mean, there's really not much to it, but it looks beautiful. I mean, just look at the details. Try to see if you can see with the lighting. The paint job is amazing. So if you don't know who Major Graf was, his name was actually Hermann Graf. He was a Luftwaffe ace, which is a German fighter pilot in World War II, and he also flew Bf-109s, but later on in the war they moved on to the FW-190 A5s. And he was the first pilot to claim 200 aerial victories. He claimed about 212 in total. So Germany, unlike the US, Germany would leave their fighter aces in. The US would take the fighter pilots that were aces out because they would use them to train the new pilots. But Germany would leave them in. And so it's a totally different strategy, but that's how, you know, Hermann Graf was able to get so many victories. And why you won't see American pilots with that many, even though they probably could have. And now for the landing gear. The landing gear is pretty easy. You just lift it up like this, and it kind of stays in place as it is. But then you also have right here this little support. I don't know if you can see that right there. It has a little hole, and this lines up and pushes in and locks into place like that to hold it into place. You can see there. So we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. And I'm actually really impressed with this landing gear. A lot of other landing gear that Merit did was kind of flimsy. I mean, this one is flimsy, don't get me wrong. It's definitely more fragile than 21st Century Toys and Elite Force, but it works really well. And this is a light plane. I mean, it doesn't feel too light. It still has some heft to it, but you know, it's not one of those things that you'll be playing as like a toy. This is actually more of like a model collector version. And the rear landing gear is already fixed, so you don't have to do anything with that. And the wheels do spin. The rear wheels and the front wheels. Okay, I just figured out something pretty cool. Look at this. The rear wheel is actually spring-loaded. So there we go. Fully assembled, completed. Now I'm gonna show you some closer shots. Okay, so I'm gonna try to give you a better cockpit view. The canopy slides back like that on that little slot right there in a rail. And it did not come with a pilot, but I do have one I'm gonna put in. I actually have two different pilots in 1/18 scale that are German. Not a lot of detail on the cockpit, and that's the one thing about this model. Probably the only thing about this model that I have a complaint about, of course, is the lack of detail in the cockpit. It does have rudder pedals. It's kind of hard to tell. You can see them right there. So, but that is one thing you could always do yourself. You could paint those in, or probably buy a kit, a model kit, and do it yourself. Okay, so here are two German pilots that I have. This is actually from an Elite Force BF-109. Pretty good details, but definitely smaller than this one. They're both 1/18 scale. And then this one right here is actually from the FW-190 that I'm gonna also compare it to from 21st Century Toys. So I'm gonna see if he'll fit real quick. Okay, so unfortunately I wasn't able to get him in there and close the canopy. I mean, he fits in there pretty good, but it just seems like the fuselage is just a little too narrow, at least for a 1/18 scale pilot, which is probably why I didn't include one. But I'll still mess around, see if I can get in there, because I really like the way this pilot looks. I might have to actually take off the legs or the lower torso to fit him in there. Okay, so when I removed his helmet, he fit a lot better, but it's still just barely not enough, and it looks so good. All right, we'll start with the wings here. You can actually see all the weathering, of course the intentional weathering there, and all the little rivets. You can see them with the lighting, really good job there. And this right here, I don't know what that means. If you know, shoot me a message in the comments. Probably means something like do not stand. And then here's a better view of the paint. And up top you see the guns. Right here, I think that was the oil cooler vent. And this little insignia here was actually Major Graf's, one of his units. It was one of his older units. It was the JG-50, the Jagdgeschwader 50. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But it was the Corsair Staffel. The stabilizers actually move, as well as the rudder. And I'm not sure what that 202 means. I tried to look it up. I don't know if it's another one of his units. They do have a tail number here. And then I don't know what that means either. If somebody knows what all this stuff means in German, I'd love to find out. And it looks like maybe this is the trim angle of the stabilizer. This also looks like it might be where they put a jack to lift it up. Not 100% sure what this means. This is probably another one of his units he was in. There's some more detail. Let me know if you know what that means. I tried to research all this the best I could, but it's kind of hard to find all the little information about the plane. And also the ailerons do move. So moving on to the front, here's your pitot tube here. And then you have some cannons. And then you'd also usually have a cannon right here. So here's a better look at the bottom. Some more writing on the drop tank. Let me know what that means in the comments if you know. Look at the details down there in the landing gear as well. I don't know if that's accurate, but it looks pretty good. And there's also writing on the landing gear. Another thing I like about Merit JSI is they did not brand their planes where you could see their big logo on the bottom. Like usually BBI or Elite Force would put it right there, 21st Century Toys, like somewhere like that in the middle, but they did not put it anywhere on here, which I love. So the flaps also deploy. You can lift them up like that, and they do go all the way to landing position. Okay, so here's the FW-190 comparison I was telling you about. This is obviously the 190 A5, the short nose, and this is the 190D. This is the long nose by 21st Century Toys. And you can see here, I mean, the details are not near as good as this one, but it still looks really cool. And it had the really unique paint job as well. So if you haven't seen this video, go ahead and check it out on my channel. I did a review of it and unboxing of this one. Alright, so that about does it for this FW-190 A5 by Merit. If you wouldn't mind, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't checked out my channel yet, I have a lot of other 1/18 scale models, planes, tanks, helicopters that I review. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.